Hi everyone, welcome to Make It Change. Today I'd like to talk about some more about financial independence and what it can mean to you by talking about what it means to me and the different ways that it can be achieved. Um, I was really surprised recently to learn that there's a different form of financial independence than what I had thought of before. When you read financial independence articles and listen to YouTube videos, they tell you to figure out what your FI number is, your financial independence number, which is the amount of money that you would need in order to live off the investments, following the 4% or maybe 3.5% or even 3% rule for lifetime living costs. And I always calculated that based on the amount that it would cost to retire early in the United States. And recently, an idea that I came across was um, the amount that you would need to live comfortably in other places around the world is actually less than you would need to live comfortably in the United States. And I had always only thought of the number that it would cost for me to live comfortably in the United States. And one example that someone gave was that they had been, I think, laid off from a job or something, and then they looked at their retirement accounts and they realized that, well, this isn't enough to just begin living in the United States off of investments, but moving to another country where the cost of living is lower and where they could pursue a permanent resident visa, something that takes, time and attention to the details and, following the rules, that they would be able to live a completely comfortable middle class, life in that other country with the amount that they had in their investments, even though that wasn't really enough to live comfortably in the United States. And this idea was really eye-opening for me because I had never thought of it. And, it made me start to think, oh, okay, I suppose I should have maybe two different phi numbers and, just kind of begin, reflecting and trying to figure out, would that be something that would be, acceptable? Is that something that I would like to do with my life? Again, kind of figuring out what is your motivation? What is financial independence going to look like for you? And there are more paths to it and for it than I had imagined. And it was really, very interesting to me to think that, oh, okay, instead of the extremely high number, that it would be to live comfortably in the United States, there are other places in the world, where costs are cheaper, and the major cost in any budget is your housing costs, and the cost of let's say a one bedroom or two bedroom apartment in other cities around the world. Perhaps you'll have to look at the city, but it is potentially lower than here in the United States, and then that instantly creates room in your budget, which would then lower that number that you need to aim at in order to begin pursuing that kind of life. So that is just really interesting to me, because maybe there are two phi numbers to keep in mind. Calculate your calculate your phi number for the United States to live the style of life that you would like in the United States that's comfortable for you, and then also consider. It'd be good if you kind of did some research. Are there other countries that you might like to live in, and what the costs of living in different places are in those countries? And also look into, what's required to get a permanent residence visa for those countries. And of course, all of that information is available online. There are lots of people who end up, pursuing residence in other countries, and they actively talk about how much does it cost. In some cases, these visa programs, you can qualify if you invest a certain amount of money into their local economy, whatever form that might take, or buy property or something like that. Or you just have to be able to prove that you can sustain yourself in the country so that your investments would supply you with a certain level of income so that you're not of course, a burden on their society. And you might have to buy into their healthcare system. But honestly, from what I've looked around and seen online, not exhaustive research, um, the costs compared to what we would pay in the United States for medical care don't even rate. As these numbers might seem large to these people in these countries, but they don't sound large to someone who's used to the United States and who understands that you might need medical care and then you may end up owing $200,000 for that medical care. In comparison, the numbers that they have in their countries are much lower, very, very small. So yeah, kind of a high staying in the United States fine number, and then a lower. What if I leave the United States? What if I live somewhere else? That would be an adventure for me. That would be fun, and that would also have a lower cost of living. And particularly if you're focused on living a car-free lifestyle, you can do this in the United States, but your choices of where you can live are fewer than if you were to live in some other countries. So, for instance, for me, one of the things that I did with my budget that makes my life work for me is that I do live a car-free lifestyle. I also live debt-free, lots of other freedom from other things, but primarily car-free, and I'm very happy about it. I never like the car culture of the United States never really clicked with me, and I never embraced it. I did own a car and drove it for a number of years, but I ended up getting rid of my last car, I think 12 to 15 years ago. And I'm really happy about that decision. It's one of the best ones I ever could have made because saving that money enabled more investing and then getting me to where I'm at today. But it does change where you can live in the United States comfortably. And areas of the country that support that kind of lifestyle, of course, are going to have really adequate public transportation. And in other countries, they just are simply denser to begin with and usually have really good public transportation systems. So, thinking about other countries with good public transportation systems, with lower cost of living, it just begins to look much more appealing, especially because it reduces the amount that you have to save for your fine number, which also reduces the amount of time that you need to be doing that saving. Or if it doesn't reduce the amount of time, maybe it reduces the amount of saving that you have to do, which means that you can spend more in your current lifestyle and make yourself more comfortable, knowing that oh, I plan to reduce my expenses when I reach this lower number by, pursuing permanent residence in another country. And it was very interesting, learning about this because it really led me to start to consider, maybe even though you're born in the United States and so you're automatically a citizen and everything, maybe the way to think of the United States is it's only the place where I work in order to make money so that I can ultimately, retire and live in, another country that, frankly, I might enjoy more, or that just simply having that adventure would be more enjoyable. Especially again, being able to live in a way that agrees with you if you're car free and this kind of thing. So it's just something to think about. Financial independence can take a lot of different forms, and there are more forms out there probably that I don't even know about yet. And any one of them could fit you, and you can change your mind and develop your plans differently and pursue whichever ones make sense to you. But they do usually have different fine numbers that you should aim at. And that's good. I think it's probably good to know a range, especially because then you can start to know, well, which of these plans is achievable as I start hitting these numbers. Where am I on the goals that I can achieve with these numbers I've gotten from my investments? So that's it. I'm going to say, please like and subscribe. That helps build the channel. And I will say thanks for watching. Bye.